Hello everyone, I am Scuttlest, and welcome to a discussion video regarding Warriors Orochi 4. Specifically, to discuss a number of things lingering on my mind regarding the new entry in this crossover franchise. The initial excitement I had for the announcement has calmed down, and now there's a few subjects I'd like to talk about regarding this game we currently know exceedingly little about. So, let's get right to our first point, the plot. Where can the story go after Warriors Orochi 3? Specifically after Ultimate's plot. Orochi seemed pretty dead, what with his body perished, and then the world's will manifesting as Orochi's old form also defeated. In order to get Orochi to have something to do in Ultimate's plot, because Orochi was in the game title and we needed to do something with him, we needed to time travel back and give Orochi a backstory. And that backstory was, well, in my opinion, rubbish. Am I supposed to feel some sense of loss for Yinglong's irreversible transformation into Orochi? The character only had a few minutes of screen time. Am I supposed to empathize with that? Now, I know a character doesn't need, 10 hours worth of melodramatic cutscenes to make me care for him and her, but Yinglong was around for so little time that I didn't feel any sense of loss here. And I can't imagine many other players did either. And I think this backstory actually robbed Orochi of a lot of the mystery surrounding his character. Admittedly, Orochi has long been more of a plot device than a character, but still, it kinda robbed him of some mystique. Now, looking to Warriors Orochi 4 in the future, perhaps Orochi could be revived, because reviving the same villain in every main installment wouldn't be redundant or anything. In Ultimate, the demon characters do seem to think that reviving Orochi is entirely possible. They're being misled by Tamamo at the time, but Daji, who is a rather intelligent character, does believe that reviving Orochi is something that can be done. I just mentioned Tamamo, so let's switch to talking about her for a moment. Tamamo, or her true form, Kyubi. At the end of the True Ending Path in Ultimate, she's sealed into the Divine Mirror. And since the crack in the Divine Mirror has been repaired, she can't escape, barring the idea of someone helping her from outside. So unless someone cracks the Divine Mirror again, what could be done with Kyubi? It's difficult to say how the story could progress from here. Do we revive Orochi again? We saw his scythe dramatically flash across the screen in the Orochi 4 teaser, so he's definitely in the game in some way. What might Kyubi be doing? I really hate dropping characters, so I do hope that Tamamo and Kyubi are still in, even if they're characters I never really use that much. And then, there's Hundun. Hundun would have a lot of untapped potential in Orochi 4's plot. Hundun was just stuffed into the end of a bonus mode in Ultimate, but from the moment I read the description of the character, I felt that he would have been a great character in the main plot of an Orochi game. What do all of the Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors characters fight against? They fight against the chaos of their respective time frames, barring some exceptions like Dong Zhuo, who couldn't care less so long as he gets to have banquets and sex. One could say that chaos, as an abstract concept, is the true main antagonist of Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors. And then there's Hundun, who is literally described as chaos given physical form. He already has the blueprint to be a great villain for an Orochi game. Maybe not the main villain, after all this franchise is Warriors Orochi, not Warriors Hundun. But perhaps Hundun is the one who instigates the plots, the one who frees Kyubi and tips off the old demon army characters as to the means to properly revive Orochi. Then Hundun kicks back and enjoys the land embroiled in chaos as the humans and mystics are dealing with the simultaneous threats of Orochi and Kyubi. Perhaps only stepping back onto the stage once Orochi and Kyubi are clearly being defeated and the land might be about to return to peace. Just one idea rolling around in my head. There's a lot of other ways we could do this, but Hundun should definitely be someone in the main plot. As for the plot, should it be a single linear plot like Orochi 3? Or should it go back to faction storylines like the first two Warriors Orochi games? I would personally choose the latter. The linear story of Orochi 3, while I did like it when I first played the game, I have grown sour on it in the years since. Trying for a single linear story in a game that has a cast of over 100 characters came at a cost. The game has a lot of blatant character recruitment filler battles. Battles that mean nothing to the plot but dump like 5 new characters at you. The defined factions of Dynasty and Samurai Warriors barely exist past the character select screen, as everyone gets merged into this blob coalition force. I really would rather they return to the old faction-based stories for Warriors Orochi. Let every faction get their own time to be the protagonists in their own journeys to defeat whomever the main villain of this game is. I also liked how the first 2 Orochi games kind of played with character factions a little, with people like Mitsunari and Nagamasa basically being honorary Wei characters, or Ieyasu being with Shu. It's a little thing, but something I'd like to see again. But we won't see it if we try to do a linear story again. And ideally, the faction stories will be longer than the faction stories in Orochi 1 and Orochi 2 were. I could see a lot of people disagreeing with me on this point, though. I know a lot of people who really enjoyed Orochi 3's plot. I respect all viewpoints, but I know I would enjoy the game more with a return to faction storylines. Now, as for characters, we saw in the trailer Dynasty Warriors 8 Zhao Yun and Samurai Warriors 4 Yukimura Sanada battling it out. I'm not even going to comment on whether or not this was just a shot to remind everyone that this is a Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors crossover, or whether or not this could mean a narrative reboot since these characters are on friendly terms, though I personally think it's the former. What I am going to talk about is, they are in their respective Dynasty Warriors 8 and Samurai Warriors 4 designs, which means that all Dynasty Warriors 8 newcomers and all Samurai Warriors 4 newcomers are probably in. This includes the characters from later titles and expansions of those Warriors games, like Shun Yu, who became playable in Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires, or Naomasa E, who was introduced in Samurai Warriors 4 too. A bit of a question mark can be raised on the subject of the newcomers of Samurai Warriors Spirit of Sanada, mostly because Yukimura is not in his young adult design from Spirit of Sanada, but his old Samurai Warriors 4 design. But I'm going to believe that the Spirit of Sanada characters are in, and that Yukimura's design is like that simply because Omega Force prefers that design over his young adult design in Spirit of Sanada. Heck, I much prefer this pre-Spirit of Sanada design myself, though adult Yukimura from Spirit of Sanada was the absolute best. Lady Muramatsu, the elder sister of Yukimura and Nobuyuki, is a somewhat different matter to discuss, though. She was not a playable character, just a unique non-player character found in the towns that was around for the sake of the plot. Maybe we could have her as a camp character in Orochi 4? Or could Orochi 4 be the time that Muramatsu becomes a playable character? Not likely, but I guess I can dream. A much bigger question mark can be cast on the idea of Dynasty Warriors 9's newcomers. While DW9 was, in my own opinion, a turd, it had some excellent newcomers. What is to become of characters like Shun Yo, or Chung Pu, or even the UNPCs that will become playable at a later date, like Yuan Shu? I would not be happy at all if they regressed back to being generic officers, but it may be an inevitable fact. I actually had a thought in my head that, with weapon reassignments in Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires, some weapons of the 8 era are now ownerless, and maybe could have been handed to the newcomers of Dynasty Warriors 9 for the sake of getting them into Warriors Orochi 4. Shin Xianying could inherit Yue Ying's old dagger axe, Dong Bai could pick up Xiao Chao's old iron fan, etc, etc. But unfortunately I did a count. There are only 9 ownerless weapons in 8 Empires, but counting the 4 UNPCs that will become playable later, 9 has 11 newcomers. So that idea of mine died before it had a chance to truly live. Unless we're willing to accept moveset clones. While I don't like it, I'll try to be at peace with the fact that Dynasty Warriors 9's newcomers will likely degenerate back into generic officers. Though Joe Song could be in, since he did appear in Warriors All-Stars with a moveset that fit with the old charge system. But let me raise another point for DW9, costumes. I will reiterate the fact that I did not like Dynasty Warriors 9 as a game, but I think it was one of the best Warriors games in terms of fashion, how the characters are dressed. It would be a shame to lose some of these costumes. Funnily enough, Dynasty Warriors 6 and 9 are seen as some of the worst Warriors games, but I think those two were the best in regards to character outfits. Minus some notably terrible ones like Xiahou Yuan's outfit in 6, but I guess I'm getting off topic here. Ideally, we could unlock the 9 outfits for the Dynasty Warriors side of the cast in Orochi 4 just by leveling them up. I wouldn't want to be advocating DLC before the game is even released. What am I, EA Junior? But on the subject of costumes, I wouldn't mind them updating the look of the Mystic and Demon characters. These characters have had the same outfit since their first appearance in the franchise, the only sort of exception is Orochi and Orochi X, I guess. With the Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors characters getting a new outfit in every main installment of their franchise. Usually. It would be nice for some of these characters to follow suit and get new appearances. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about guest characters in this franchise. Warriors Orochi 3 was interesting at its release as it offered us many characters owned by Koei Tecmo, but were not Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors characters. And they weren't Mystic or Demon characters either. Characters like Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, or Joan of Arc from Bladestorm. All these characters getting into Orochi 3 was basically the precursor for Warriors All-Stars, a general company-wide crossover in the format of a Warriors game. However, I have a personal rule regarding guest characters from other Koei Tecmo IPs in the Orochi series. Obviously, this rule is just a personal preference on my part, but I want as little art style conflict as possible. Give me characters that don't look artistically out of place when standing next to the Dynasty and Samurai Warriors characters. Sturkenberg, a new guest character in Orochi 3 Ultimate, hailing from the Atelier franchise produced by Gust, a division of Koei Tecmo, was already pushing the envelope there. If you look closely at his eyes, you can see his art style is a bit different from everyone else there. I know some might think I'm nitpicking here, but it did annoy me quite a bit. I was fine with it in All-Stars, it's to be expected in a company-wide crossover, but in Warriors Orochi, I'd prefer to avoid it. So in short, William Adams from Nioh getting in as a guest character? Sounds good to me. Our niece from Knights of Azure with her giant anime eyes? No thank you. I'll make one exception here though. I would love to see Nobunaga get into the game, simply for the potential he would have with his interactions with Nobunaga, and perhaps seeing some Oda characters losing it over the Kitty Demon King. I'll also add that any Warriors All-Stars character that doesn't conflict with the art style, like, say, Oka, I'll support getting into the game. And I think that wraps up all the things I wanted to talk about in this video. I'm definitely looking forward to future news about the new installment of the Orochi series. And if the words open world are dropped in any news update, heads will roll. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.